Hello, my name is Helen Gunter and I'm going to be talking about funding at master's level. I work in the university's postgraduate marketing team and I'm responsible for promotion of funding opportunities at the university. So in my presentation today I'm going to be covering tuition fees, living expenses, that's really important when you're thinking about budgeting, funding tips, when to apply, what to look out for, and the different types of funding sources that are available to cover your costs of postgraduate study. Postgraduate tuition fees. So here I'm talking about standard one-year tuition fees for UK students studying a taught course, for example an MA or an MSc. So these fees are likely to be very different to an undergraduate fee. I've given some examples below of a typical fee. So I say typical because fees will vary by programme. So if you have a look on our website, we list the fees for each programme. But as you can see, the fees range from about 7,200 in arts, humanities, social sciences, up to about 10,200 for courses in the science, agriculture and engineering subjects. So if you're thinking about budgeting, then we really need to think about your typical living expenses for a year. So when I'm talking about a year at postgraduate level, I'm talking about a 12-month period. At undergraduate level, your academic year typically starts in September and finishes around June time, so we're talking about a 9-month period. At postgraduate level, your academic course is going to be lasting 12 months. So you start in September and you finish at the end of August. So please don't budget on the assumption that it's going to be the same at undergraduate level as it will be for postgraduate level. So the figures that we've estimated are around £11,000 to £12,000 for UK students. Now I've provided a web link, and on that link we've got a breakdown, a monthly breakdown of all the costs involved. So these are things like food, accommodation, mobile phone bills, etc. So that's a really good document if you're thinking about your monthly budget and what you're going to have to cover. These figures don't include tuition fees though, so please bear that in mind. So funding at postgraduate level can be a complex process if you haven't got full funding. So full funding means that you have all your tuition fees paid and all your living expenses paid. So it's more normal for you to get partial funding, and therefore you need to look at different funding sources to enable you to get through your course and to pay for all your living expenses and all your tuition fees. So some of our students are using an approach called portfolio funding, and this is where you're bringing together different pots of money in order to pay for those fees, for example. So here we could be talking about personal savings, loans, part-time work, partial scholarships, for example. So you may need to bring all these different pots of money together. So for some funding sources, you will need to have an offer of a place on an academic course before you can apply for that funding. So please bear that in mind when you're thinking about your funding deadlines. My team are responsible for promoting the funding sources at the university, and what we tend to see is from about November to April, this is a peak period for some of the funding sources coming through. So please keep an eye out during this period and don't leave it until after you graduate, because a lot of the funding will be allocated by then. So always start as soon as you can. Another thing to bear in mind is that it might be useful to talk to your prospective academic school, as they might know what types of funding is coming through. And if you get a chance, if you can speak to a current student on your prospective course, then they're often the experts and they will have acquired funding already. So if you get a chance to speak to them, that's really helpful. And I've put a few funding websites there that list a number of different funding opportunities, so they're really useful websites to use. So I want to talk to you about the government master's loan. The slide I've got here mainly refers to students from England, but I have got a web address at the bottom of the slide, and that links to all the schemes in Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales, so more information can be found there. At the moment, so for 2017 entry, the loan maximum amount is £10,280. We're still waiting for the government to confirm figures for 2018 entry, so that will be imminent. So if you think about how much your living expenses are going to be and your tuition fees, then that £10,280 maximum is only going to be a contribution towards your living expenses or tuition fees. So you will need to find extra funding in order to cover all of your costs. So it's just important to bear that in mind. The Master's Loan Scheme, as the name suggests, covers master's courses. It doesn't cover PhDs, for example, or diplomas or certificate programmes. And it does cover a range of taught courses and research courses, so things like MAs, MScs, MLITs, MRes courses in all subject areas. In terms of repayment, then you have to be earning over £21,000 before you start paying back the loan, and that's and the loan amount is 6% of your annual income. The loan is given out as 3 instalments, but you can find a lot more information about that loan on the website that we've provided below. So some of the other funding sources for UK EU students, school funding or university funding or faculty funding. So these funding schemes are likely to be partial, so they won't cover all of your fees, but they will help contribute to funding your studies. We have a number of schemes coming through at the moment at the university, but they are not yet advertised, but the website I've given below will promote these schemes as soon as they're available. Another way of funding your studies might be through your current employer, for example, so you can ask about whether they would be able to contribute to your fees or living expenses. Part-time work. So if you worked at undergraduate level, it may be that you want to carry on working at postgraduate level. All I would say is that postgraduate level is a bit more intense, and you may not be able to do the level of work that you did at undergraduate study. So I would always check with your academics, for example, the level of study that's required. But if you feel that you can undertake the work, we've got a really good website that the Careers Service has put together that has loads of links to different organisations. And finally, we also offer the ability to do an MRes or an MSc plus PhD. So this is a 4-year package where you're doing a master's level and doctoral level funding, and the university offers a range of these courses. So if you're really thinking now that you're interested in doctoral level funding, then these schemes offer really good funding packages that will cover those 4 years, the master's level and the doctoral level. Charities and trusts, so a lot of people haven't heard of these in terms of postgraduate funding. There are thousands of organisations that offer partial funding, so smaller pots of money to contribute towards your postgraduate figures, your fees. So I've listed a number of different sites there. You will need to do quite a lot of detective work on all of these sites because there are a number of funding opportunities there, but just take some time and have a look through all the different sites. So tuition fee discounts. So the university offers a range of discounts for postgraduate students. So if you've done a full undergraduate degree, for example a BA or a BSc, and you're going on to a master's level course, for example an MA, MSc, then for most courses you will be eligible for a 20% discount. The university also offers an early payment discount. So if you can pay all of your fees, your annual fees at registration, you get a 2% discount. We also offer, for the majority of standard master's courses, the ability to pay over 6 instalments, so that will really help you spread your costs. The website below provides information about all of those schemes. And finally, I've listed a number of websites here for students with children, students with disabilities. If you're thinking about going into teaching, there's some more information there for you. And if you're thinking about undertaking a professional and career development loan, then that link will give you some more information. So best of luck with your studies, and I hope that you find lots of funding. Thank you.